Well, good morning. It's my privilege to introduce Mr. Rajaraman. I would call him probably the newest regulator in India. He is a chairman of IFSCA in GIFT City, and he has taken over charge as a chairman little over a month ago. Mr. Rajaraman belongs to the 1989 batch of Indian Administrative Service and has assumed the responsibility after serving for nearly 35 years in various leadership roles in the Government of India and Government of Tamil Nadu. Prior to joining IFSCA, Mr. Rajaraman served as a Secretary to Government of India in the Department of Telecommunications. He is a BTech graduate in Electronics and Communication, an MBA and Master of Economics. Starting his career as design engineer in BHEL Trichy, during his rich and varied experience as an IAS officer, he had held various administrative positions in the areas of investment promotion, foreign direct investment, public sector undertakings, industrial infrastructure, VAT administration, etc. He was MD of Chennai Metro Railways for nearly 4 years during its early construction phase, Commissioner for Commercial Taxes in Government of Tamil Nadu, and Joint Secretary Expenditure in Government of India. He has also served as Additional Secretary Investment, IER and Administration in the Department of Economic Affairs and Ministry of Finance. And he joins IFSCA, which I must say is a very unique experiment because many people have asked this question, why an IFSCA or a territory which is deemed as a foreign territory within India when India should be talking about capital account convertibility. Now, those of you who heard the Deputy Governor yesterday, he clearly indicated that as far as India is concerned, capital account convertibility is a process and not an event. So, we are taking measured steps, and this is an interesting experiment that has been put in place by the government, where they are creating a territory within India where rather than the Indian rules and regulations, the international rules and regulations shall apply. And this is a unique experiment where the regulator first will have to facilitate if he has to regulate. If he doesn't facilitate, there is nothing he has to regulate. So he, I would say, is in a very challenging position, very unique position. It'll be interesting to hear his thoughts about the key theme of the seminar and how the initiatives that he proposes to take in IFSCA is going to help this country to achieve these objectives. Without wasting any more time, may I request Mr. Rajaram to deliver his keynote address.
Dear friends, Namaskar and very good morning, good afternoon and good evening to all of you, the rest of you who are probably on a webcast or a web stream. Thank you, Mr. Padmanabhan, for that introduction. So I'm very pleased to be amongst you for the vibrant Global Fintech Festival as part of the GFF here today. And I am very happy to be speaking amongst the fintech community from India as well as from abroad. I would like to thank the organizers of GFF 2023 for having me here to offer some thoughts on the innovations that we see around and the developments happening in India as well as the rest of the world. I represent the International Financial Services Center, which is a regulator which has been set up in the city of Gandhinagar as India's offshore platform for attracting global investments. India is in a very interesting cusp of development. Most of you must be privy to various kinds of developments that have happened in India as well as the positive news and the vibrations that have actually supported a wave of growth in the last several years. India is a very strong and a vibrant democracy that encourages and enables innovation. A welfare state that focuses on inclusion of all kinds, social, uh, demographic, and financial inclusion. And it has a strong and technically competent manpower which can serve the rest of the world. India has enabled biometric identities for nearly about 1.4 billion people, connected nearly about 1.2 billion of its citizens via 4G and now 5G. It's provided about 500 million bank accounts to unbanked citizens. India is also top ranked in digital payments. It has got the third largest startup ecosystem and the third largest fintech ecosystem, and is a home to about nearly 9,900 fintechs. It has also landed a machine on the moon. Fintech is important to different countries and sectors in different ways. For India, fintech has delivered in terms of financial inclusion. It has drastically reduced turnaround times for financial services. It has simplified procedures and processes, leading to emergence of very, very different and efficient business models. It has reduced the cost of financial intermediation. It has disintermediated several sectors. It has enabled data aggregation, reducing credit and insurance risks. It has enhanced customer experience. It has eliminated inefficiencies in e-commerce and through e-governance. Of these, I would rate financial inclusion and e-governance as game-changing applications that has altered the trajectory of socio-economic growth of this country. As one of the largest and fastest growing economies, India has been a major consumer of international financial services. And with the objective of bringing back offshore international financial services, businesses generated by India in the rest of the world and back to India, IFSC is gradually emerging as a financial services hub at the regional and global level. Government of India has operationalized the IFSC in April 2015, though of course a legal structure was given to it since 2020. The decision to set up IFSC was a natural one with one of the following reasons. India is a huge market. It has got a huge talent of manpower, both in the financial sector, IT sector, and many other sectors, including engineering. India is competitive in terms of cost advantages. It has got a geostrategic location which allows it to deal with different markets in time zones ranging from Japan to the US. And India has a large diaspora present globally who can participate in India's growth story. IFSC was established through the IFSC Act of 2019 and combines the function of RBI, the SEBI, the stock exchange regulator, the insurance regulator IRDA, and the pension regulator PFRDA in reference to the regulation of financial products and various financial services. Our vision is to promote ease of doing business and to provide world-class regulatory environment in development and regulation of financial products, services, and financial institutions in the IFSC in the areas of banking, insurance, securities and funds management, pension, etc. It also provides a competitive tax regime, which includes exemption from corporate tax for a period of 10 consecutive years out of 15, exemption from the dividend distribution tax, exemption from security transactions tax, commodity transaction tax, etc. As part of the Union Budget for 2021, Honorable Finance Minister Mrs. Nirmala Sitharaman announced the development of a world-class fintech hub at the International Financial Services Center at GIFT City. So IFSCA over the last 3 years has provided competitive access for startups and stimulated the development of innovative financial products and services as part of the new unified regulatory regime that we have put in place. IFSCA has put in place over 30 simplified, globally benchmark regulations in the last 3 years. India is the largest fintech market, behind only the US and the China. The sector boasts of over 23 unicorns as of Q1 of 2023, and has got about 660 fintech startups which have received funding of nearly about $26 billion from 2014 till Q1 of 2023. India has a fintech adoption rate of about 87%, surpassing several advanced economies. This growth has been driven by a collaborative ecosystem and also supported by various government initiatives such as UPI, Sahamati, which is the accounts aggregator framework, UID, and riding on mobile internet and smartphones. To help domestically successful fintech companies in making international forays, there are very important parameters that need to be looked at. The first one is a business model portability and relevance of a fintech's business model in new geographies. The next is a product maturity to deliver on value propositions and the ability of the fintech to open doors in new geographies with respect to partnerships, talent, and capital. While the first two are obviously the responsibility of fintechs, the third parameter involves the role of government, the financial sector regulators, and financial institutions. Enabling globally benchmark regulations can enable fintechs to port their business into many jurisdictions effortlessly, and that is what IFSCA is striving to achieve. IFSCA also proposes to explore passporting arrangements with regulators of select jurisdictions to enable ease of doing business across borders. It was also observed that various Indian fintechs are pursuing to scale their operations by expanding across the region by leveraging various financial centers across the world. GIFT IFSC is the most logical launchpad for fintechs desirous of scaling globally. So the triple benefits of serving the global market, serving the domestic market, tapping into onshore talent, and also benefiting from a competitive offshore policy environment can enable scaling of global business. So I welcome mature fintechs which are present here with a proven business model to use fintech as a launchpad for international operations. GIFT IFSC with over 25 international bank units, 74 fund entities, 5 international insurance offices provides key advantages. So there are no controls in capital or revenue account on international transactions. So the development of fintech landscape in the last few years has demonstrated that the policymakers and regulators may need to constantly revisit existing laws and regulatory frameworks, and fintechs have kept us on the toes. Because essentially, as technology develops, regulations have also to move on, and this provides the advantage for regulators like us in being very closely associated with fintechs, especially through sandboxes. Fintech business models often present policymakers with challenges in terms of financial stability, market integrity, consumer and investor protection, efficiency and competition, and financial inclusion. So fintech could also present issues that span multiple financial regulators, requiring enhanced cooperation between various regulators. This may include agencies in the other parts of government, such as agencies responsible for consumer protection, fair competition, data protection, each with its own mandate and policy objectives. Thus, third, the speed of innovation often imposes a knowledge gap on regulators, compounded by lack of in-house technology experts, causing slow response to developments in the market, while fintech firms get impatient waiting for the regulator to act. Finally, the technology may also lead to more decentralization in the financial sector, posing challenges for regulation and supervisory frameworks. So in terms of the regulatory framework, IFSCA issued the framework for fintech entities in IFSC a couple of years ago. The regulatory framework provides fintechs and tech fins with authorization and limited use authorization. The framework covers financial technology solutions resulting in new business models, applications, processes, products in areas, activities linked to financial services regulated by IFSCA. Advanced innovative technology solutions which aid and assist in relation to financial products, financial services, and financial institutions. So you can have either a fintech or a tech fin. A unique feature under the framework is the IFSCA's limited use authorization framework, which permits fintechs and tech fins from any location in the globe to explore IFSCA's sandbox without actually setting up an office within the IFSCA premises. The vision of the Honorable Prime Minister of India for GIFT City is to act as a fintech global laboratory. So in pursuance of this, the framework for fintech entities in the IFSC provides 2 sandboxes. One is a innovation sandbox and another is a regulatory sandbox. So the innovation sandbox is for some for fintechs and tech fins who are early in the curve. I mean, I think who are yet to demonstrate the proof of concept. So for those who are mature, I think we have a regulatory sandbox from where direct live market testing can happen, enabling them to actually go to market very quickly. I would like to just spend a couple of minutes on some of the fintechs who are in our sandbox testing some of their interesting products. One is related to international bond markets. Typically, international bond markets deal with large investment ticket sizes of something like 100,000 to 200,000 US dollars. So one of the interesting use cases which fintech has come up with is bond tokenization. A distributed ledger technology is leveraged to democratize the bond markets by allowing individuals to trade fractional bonds that are tokenized. So since DLT is used, near real-time instant settlement is a possibility. This has the potential to enhance participation in the bond markets and overall secondary trading and liquidity. Another interesting proposal is about a US space tech company where IFSCA has given regulatory permission to operate in the sandbox. So this TechFin is developing a satellite anomaly platform using space weather data and anomaly data. The AI ML model predicts potential future satellite anomalies based on multiple space weather events in near real-time basis. This data is then leveraged by an insurance company to effectively underwrite satellite insurances. So these are some of the examples of some of the companies who are there. But typically, let me also state that I think we welcome fintechs and techfins who are present here in the domestic market with an opportunity or with an ability to actually launch a global business, to also look at a subsidiary in IFSCA. Now, while I say all this, fintechs need to be conscious of the lessons of the past in handling risks, be it governance risks, financial risks, operational risks, AML and CFT risks, cyber security risks, etc. Risks to consumers such as overexposure in lending, data security issues, grievance handling, etc. are critical in a vibrant financial market. Most fintechs today have become perceptive and systematic in their approach to risk management. IFSCA also mandates and facilitates a robust risk assessment and mitigation strategy as part of the sandbox. While I say that, IFSCA is also striving to build regulatory and supervisory capacity for managing the rapidly evolving fintech landscape. The sandbox affords an opportunity for IFSCA to test and update its own regulations in minimizing fintech risks while providing flexibility in the use of technology. Since we are a very agile and small organization, we are able to, we are very accessible and also completely tuned to the requirements of the market, and therefore we are able to tweak our regulations to suit new business models while ensuring that the risks stay in control. Now, GIFT IFSC, with nearly about 500 plus regulated entities at the moment, is emerging as a market by itself and is poised to serve fintech companies in this regard with its robust ecosystem. What I mean to say is that while the fintech companies can look at serving the global markets, there is actually a market out there within the IFSC itself, where many of the financial entities there could make use of the services of fintechs for improving their efficiencies. So, capital markets, insurance, fund management, which enables fintech firms having innovative ideas or solutions cutting across the banking, capital or insurance sector, can have seamless interaction with the unified regulator, enhancing the ease of doing business. We also have a funding and incentive scheme within the IFSCA to develop the concepts which have been put up by very promising fintech companies. So this incentive scheme was launched in 2022 and provides nearly about 5 to 6 types of grants, both to fintechs in particular verticals, including green finance. It also provides finance to accelerators who support and aid and assist fintechs. So far we have provided sanctions to about 5 of them, and I think some more of these fintech companies are also in the process of being approved under the incentive schemes. So there are nearly about 25 fintech and techfin companies who have been approved under the innovation and the regulatory sandboxes, and they are progressing quite well. Honorable Prime Minister of India, while laying the foundation stone for the IFSCA headquarters building in GIFT City, said that integration is the most important agenda for us with global markets, we are rapidly integrating with the global supply chains, and Gift City is an important gateway to connect India with global opportunities. And when you integrate with Gift City, you will integrate with the rest of the world. So IFSCA is also therefore a member of the Global Finance Innovation Network, which provides a very efficient way for innovative firms to interact with foreign regulators. IFSCA has also signed memoranda of understanding with international regulators like ADGM, that is Abu Dhabi Financial Markets, the CSSF in Luxembourg, the Qatar Financial Center Authority, Dubai Financial Services Authority, etc., to enable mutual exchange of information and also to support the work on startups, fintechs, etc., and also to work on regulatory compliances as and when need arises. IFSCA is also a signatory to the IOSCO, the multilateral MOU, which integrally involves in supporting global collaboration in setting the standards for various innovations in fintech sector. So while IFSCA has laid the groundwork for incentivizing policy structures and regulation frameworks, the fintech hub in IFSCA will have to focus on access to talent. So unlike IT giants that hire their workforce in large numbers and have robust infrastructure to train their employees, the work of fintechs is very, very difficult, and I can well understand that. So startups will therefore have to hire talent, have to spend a lot in retailing talent, and also to avoid costs of relocation. The International Financial Services Center Authority has brought regulations in 2022 to enable world-class foreign universities, foreign educational institutions set up campuses in IFSCA. So at the moment, I think there are 2 Australian universities who are setting up their centers in IFSCA to run courses on cybersecurity and financial markets, especially capital markets and so on and so forth, financial engineering, fintech, and so on and so forth. So we believe that this will also, this human resources development initiative will also grow in the coming years to enable development of a good pool of skilled manpower to dip into in the immediate surroundings. Effectively, GIFT IFSC can provide an ideal level playing field for both global and domestic players. The presence of financial services companies like banks, international insurance and reinsurance companies, alternate investment funds, as well as fintechs provides a very vibrant financial ecosystem. So Gift City has also moved up, 10 ranks from about 76 to 65 in the Global Financial Centers Index ranking of 2023. So the fintech innovation and global cooperation is a very important component of this improvement in the ranking. So we believe that IFSCA's positioning itself as a role model for onshoring the offshore and catalyzing India's digital transformation and economic growth will pay rich economic dividends for India. I end by welcoming mature fintechs to the GIFT IFSC to launch their global business using the globally competitive regime. I also welcome early stage fintechs whose products have a regional or global business plan to use the GIFT IFSC regulatory and innovation sandbox. Our team comprising of our Chief Technical Officer, Joseph Joshi, who is here, Senior Consultant Unmesh Partiwala, and the other team members who are here for the next couple of days, will be here to guide you if some of you are interested in setting up shop there. So once again, I thank the organizers and thank Mr. Padmanabhan for this great opportunity. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Rajaram. You would have realized that now you are probably interacting with a regulator who thinks differently. He is inviting you to ISCA to do business, and you must also, what you know already, I'm just reiterating, that it's a foreign territory within India. It is not the Indian rules and regulations that apply. They have a special set of rules and regulations. The Foreign Exchange Management Act, the FEMA, does not apply to the GIFT City because it is deemed as a foreign territory. So it's like the impact is like you are able to function in an international jurisdiction. That's the ambience that is tried to be created. So you have heard all that has happened in GIFT City. He has kindly consented to take a couple of questions. So anybody put up your hand, introduce yourself, and you can ask the question. The gentleman.
Thank you, sir, for taking us through the developments around IFSC. It was very privileged to note that now we have started showing our improvement in ranking amongst the IFSC, and we have moved from 75 to 65. That's a very heartening thing to know. Sir, myself, Munindra Verma from Yes Bank, and we are also very proud to have our own banking unit there, the first one there in IFSC in the year 2015, October. Sir, I have 3 questions with your permission. One is with regard to the clearing, foreign currency clearing. Some initiatives have been taken. In fact, last time Mr. Srinivas did allude to that, and then Sandbox has been announced. Have we framed the timeline, a roadmap, and kind of framework whether IPSCA will be the clearing house, or we will have some CCIL kind of setup? So roadmap and timeline would be very handy. Maybe one currency or maybe 2 currency, dollar, euro. So that's one. Sir, second question is with regard to the bullion setup. Bullion setup, formally it was announced by the Prime Minister last year, and it has done some traction, and it has done roughly about a ton of bullion imports into the country. The idea is to understand that how do we really get growth over there. There was also some media reports in the past that, IFSC would be the channel for imports into the country. Today, there is not any, at this point in time, there is not any direction or talk or roadmap which has been talked about around that. And last but not the least, sir, with regard to a lot of announcement we are seeing with regard to setting up of aircraft leasing setup there in the, recently we heard about Indigo, Air India was also being talked about. Are we expecting some global aircraft leasing companies coming out there in IFSC? Thanks, sir.
Thank you for those questions. The first one is obviously about the payment systems within GIFT. I think the payment and settlement systems. So we are coming out of the payment systems regulations shortly, maybe in the next few months, which will enable market participants themselves, regulated entities, to provide these services to ensure efficient services for instant settlement. Currently, payments actually get cleared through the correspondent banking system, so which I think takes a lot of time. So we are also working on a real-time gross settlement system, which I believe should be possible over the next 6 months or so. So I think if these two are done, obviously I think some of the problems that you are stating would get settled. It will be possible to provide realizations in near real time. So we believe that is very important to ensure a very efficient financial system, and we'll work towards that. The second question that you asked was about the bullion market. Yes, that's right. So this is a big experiment that we have done, I think. So I think it's from moving gold from a disorganized OTC market to an organized exchange-based market is something which requires a lot of effort. So let me tell you that the infrastructure is in place. The bullion exchange is there. The settlement and clearing systems have been put in place. Vaults, 3 vaults are operational. There is also one more vault which is coming up in Chennai, so that maybe if trade happens in Gandhinagar, in the exchange, the settlement can happen through the Chennai vault, I think. So there are a few other vaults are also under consideration. So therefore, the infrastructure is almost nearly in place. A few tweaks are required in the regulation to enable, as you rightly suggested, maybe channelizing of some of the trade, etc. So I think we believe that these are in the works, and over the next few months, we should see substantial traction. We are also looking at adding silver and other metals also to this precious metals to the portfolio. So we believe that all this will add scale and size to this. There is also an opportunity for derivatives trading on gold. So these are some of the things which are on the works. I think we expect that the very robust business model will get built up to enable them to provide efficient services. The third one which you mentioned is about aircraft and ship leasing. By the way, I think a number of entities have already set up shop in GIFT City for leasing, and nearly about 2 aircrafts have been leased out of GIFT City, and nearly about 54 jet engines also have got leased out of GIFT City. So there is an international organization called Willis, which is a US-based company which is working out of GIFT City. Similarly, for ship leasing also, a few entities have actually got a license, and a few ship leases are also in the process. So we believe that this is a great market. There are still some regulatory tweaks that are required, and we are working with the Government of India in this process. And the Ministries of Shipping and the Ministries of Civil Aviation are working with us. And we believe that with these a few regulatory tweaks, we should be able to achieve substantial traction in terms of clearing the ground for some of these foreign ecosystem players to move into GIFT City in a significantly large number. So our intention is that India is a very large market. By the way, I think India will be leasing out nearly about 1,500 aircraft, as you must have between say Air India and Indigo itself. So, and both of them have announced plans to actually lease out, and Air India has done that. So therefore, we believe that Indigo has also announced its plan in the previous few days. So we believe that this is a great opportunity. So initially we'll start with the Indian market, and I believe that this also has got an opportunity to widen itself for the region as well. Thank you.
Rajaramanji,
No, one second.
question.
Maybe just couple of points, 10 seconds. I think GIFT City in ISCA, there is a benchmark, world benchmark settled in terms of settlement as far as the gold transaction is concerned, 30 minutes. That's not important. Second, I am also aware of the fact, having worked on the RBI side, that there is some teething trouble with regard to the reporting in IDPMS. And that's something I think I have also facilitated a conversation with the Reserve Bank. Hopefully that should get sorted out. So those initial teething troubles, I think proactively ISCA is reaching out to the other regulators and it's getting sorted out. Probably I'm right? Okay. Yeah, sorry.
Rajaramanji, we are actually doing almost 100 smart cities in various metros and cities in India. So we're planning to headquarter this in Gujarat at GIFT City, the infratech company. We're seeking, obviously, for each of these projects, billions in investments. Now, when it comes to infra sector, how do you use the GIFT City framework to be able to bring in these huge billion-dollar investments into multiple smart cities across India?
GIFT City itself is a small enclave, right? So therefore, I think the possibility of infrastructure development is very minimal. But GIFT City as a platform can enable raising finances for infrastructure. So that is what we are working on. In fact, between the banks, nearly about 24 operational banks there, they have raised about nearly about $15 billion in bonds, I think, which have largely gone to infrastructure and manufacturing companies in India, I think, in the form of by way of external commercial borrowings. Similarly, I think we also, out of the $50 billion, about nearly 10 billion have been sustainable bonds, which have been put to use in some of the renewable energy projects. Finally, I think we also have a very vibrant fund management ecosystem. So out of the 74 fund management entities which we have licensed so far, nearly about $17 billion of AUM is already in position, and about $1 billion already invested downstream into India. So I believe that the alternate fund industry here in GIFT City can be a very viable platform for raising money for infrastructure within the country. So it's a very cost-efficient way of doing business, and I believe that there's a great opportunity. There are some. We are also talking to NABFID, the National Bank for Financing Infrastructure, to set up a subsidiary in GIFT City to enable greater possibilities of raising both long-term bond finance as well as through private equity. Thank you.
Yeah, maybe we'll take one more question. Yes.
Sir, can you share what is the status of listing of companies in
Please
IFSC?
identify yourself first.
Sir, this is Brajesh from Z Business. So my question is, what is the status of the regulation for listing of companies in IFSC authority?
Yeah. So the Honorable Finance Minister has already made this announcement. So the notifications from the ministries are under the process. So I think once the notifications are issued, we've already put in place a working group, which is working with the other regulators, SEBI and RBI and others. And we believe that the necessary procedures and the amendments to the existing regulations should all be complete by the next 3 months. So we should be able to take a suitable decision to go live probably by end of this year or so. That's our plan. Thank you.
I think Following what Finance Minister said yesterday, I would give preference to a lady if she has to ask a question. If not, I'll come to you. Yeah, go ahead.
Hi, sir. Khushbu Tiwari from Business Standard. I think recently, sir, you floated a recommendation paper. You had chaired the committee, and it had recommended certain changes in the Companies Act for facilitating the listing part only. So it's a follow-up question. You said that the IFSCA is a separate jurisdiction. So why are there so many challenges with the concerns to the establishment of SPACs and holdco companies that you have mentioned in your report? How do we see both of them together? So the question is to both of you.
Okay. See, the point is, while we have carved out a foreign territory within the country, we cannot simply wish away the overall issues as far as the country is concerned. So what we have done when we took the issues to the working group is, what are the issues where either more clarity is required or changes are required. In fact, if you read the report, we have gone to the extent of suggesting that maybe ultimate aim should be to have a different Companies Act altogether as far as the GIFT City is concerned, because several of the rules and regulations that apply to India would not apply there. So it's, again, I said that ultimately this is a new experiment. Several issues are getting sort of called out for more clarification and settling. But please understand, the primary focus of this working group was to look at, we have a unique situation where what I call as flight of innovation, in the sense that we have holding companies abroad which are owned by Indians. The actual activity happens in India, which employees are Indians, but the IP is held overseas. The holding company is held overseas. So the task before the committee is that what are the 360 degrees we look at and various issues that we have to look at to see what all things need to be done, codified, clarified, to bring two purposes. One, whether we can reverse flip. These people can come back into India. I think already a beginning has been made. And the second is, GIFT City is looked at the first destination for people who are setting up these companies in future. So both these aspects, I think the working group has gone into very extensively. Sir, you would like to add anything? You want to add? Okay, final question.
Hello. So thanks a lot for the speech. It was really enlightening. So I work in the sector of climate finance. I'm part of a think tank and we're working from New Delhi. So my question is, how can IFCA enable the inflow of international green finance towards achieving the NDCs in India? Thank you.
It's a very important question. So in fact, we are working towards setting up a small center for sustainable finance within the IFSC itself in collaboration with a number of think tanks. So the fundamental focus is on the national goals. And I think the national goals is net zero by 2020 and energy independence by 2047, as stated by the Honorable Prime Minister. So if that would require enormous scale of finance, there are various estimates. So obviously it would require raising of all kinds of finances, long-term debt as well as maybe equity and so on and so forth. So IFSCA at its level has actually put in place a framework for sustainable finance, so which has enabled the raising of sustainable bonds in the last several years. Nearly about 10 billion worth of bonds has been set up. We also encourage the private equity funds to actually launch sustainable funds out of the GSS plus funds in the GIFT City. A few of them have these objectives, but not a pure play climate fund. So I think we expect that over the next several years, our focus would be actually to support them to come into GIFT City in a big way. We are also working with international organizations. Like for instance, we are part of the FC4S, which is a small group of governments and regulators which are actually working on this. We are also working with some of the think tanks like CLI and other think tanks to look at how we can work towards creating products which can support the India's net zero target. We also have plans to work on carbon exchanges. I think though the work is in a very initial phase, we expect that in collaboration with the Ministry for Environment, we should, and the Ministry of Power, I think we will work on a plan to work on the carbon credit space as well. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I think he has been more than open in answering all the questions. I think we have to go into another session now. So let's give him a big hand.